What does this clip from an Indigo Disc trailer have in common with the latest 7-star Tera Raids in Scarlet and Violet? I think together they tell us one of the new Pokemon games that's going to be revealed on Pokemon Day this year. Welcome back to another DanSquared video, you Danimals. If it's your first time meeting me, hi, I'm Sundan and I played Pokemon my entire life. I learned how to read while playing my older brother's copies of Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and Crystal. You may already recognize me from being the first creator to popularize the physical attacking Bug Tera Mew to take down 7-star Mewtwo. I am a Tera Raid expert. Or you may recognize me from the Pokemon Theory shorts that I've been dropping on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram recently. I've been having a ton of fun releasing all the clips, but I wanted to take some time to really sit down and get all my thoughts out in a long-form video. I want to connect the dots on what I think is one of the new Pokemon games that's going to get announced on Pokemon Day, and I want to just share my general expectations and thoughts about Pokemon Day 2024. For the first time in a while, the future of Pokemon is truly wide open, and I love it. I've been going full Pepe Sylvia with these theories and having a ton of fun speculating. I am very confident about most of the theories in this video, but the good news is that even if I'm wrong, it's going to be funny. The wronger I am, the harder you can laugh at me on February 27th. February 27th, of course, being Pokemon Day, where Pokemon makes a ton of announcements, but we'll get into that shortly. But first, I want to stop and take a second to thank all the Danimals who've been cooking up these theories with me in my comment sections and in the DanSquared Discord. I'm going to start with my thoughts, expectations, and predictions for Pokemon Day 2024. Then I'm going to get back to the Pokemon game that I think Game Freak is already teasing and hiding in plain sight. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that this could all just end up being wrong. It's all speculation, and speculating is really fun, so let's speculate. Pokemon Day is on February 27th. Why? Because that's when Pokemon Red and Green came out in Japan in 1996. Since 2016, Pokemon's 20th anniversary, there have been a whole mess of announcements made on every single Pokemon Day. On the first one in 2016, Pokemon Sun and Moon were revealed. On Pokemon Day 2021, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Pokemon Legends Arceus were both revealed. On Pokemon Day 2022, we got our first look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The following year, Pokemon Day 2023, the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC was announced. Put a mental bookmark on the Pokemon Day 2021 announcements for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. We're going to come back to that soon, but first I want to talk about some of the events that I think are going to be announced on Pokemon Day. On Pokemon Day 2023, for example, a 7-star Pikachu Tera Raid was announced for later in the week, and a Walking Wake and Iron Leaf Spotlight Raid started immediately after the broadcast. Using this as a reference, I think we're going to get one or more of the following events. I am most confident about this first event. I think we're going to get 2 of the following legendary Paradox Pokemon appearing in Spotlight Raids like Walking Wake and Iron Leaves did. I'm expecting 2 of Iron Crown, Iron Boulder, Raging Bolt, and Gouging Fire to appear in those Spotlight Raids. Why? Because these Pokemon need to be more accessible, especially for VGC purposes, where version-exclusive legendaries are really useful in the metagame. The second event is going to be around a new mythical Pokemon that gets revealed during Pokemon Day. I am all in on the theories of the teased Gorilla mythical Pokemon that's like King Kong and is the guardian of Area Zero. I'm all in on it, it rocks. I want it to just be a beautiful, brilliant golden gorilla. If you want me to get really crazy, I hope that the mythical is tied into a 3rd Scarlet and Violet DLC. That way Game Freak can just slow down and take all the time it needs to develop its new games to give us something more just fleshed out, because I really like Scarlet and Violet. I think it has a lot of great ideas, but parts of it just feel underdeveloped or even unfinished. So long story short, I think we're gonna get a golden King Kong guardian of Area Zero. The counterpoint to this is, hey Sundan, we had a monkey mythical in Gen 8. What about Zarude? And my response is, they're not that similar. They're both monkeys, but the golden monkey is gonna be cool. It's gonna be a really big gorilla and I like it. The third and final event is the one that I just want so bad I want it the most. 7-star Koraidon and Miraidon Tera Raids. I want these to be the next 7-star Mewtwo level events. I want a Pokemon distribution beforehand like Mew with Mewtwo, maybe even that new gorilla. If 7-star Koraidon and Miraidon Tera Raids are not enough of a hot take for you, I want us to take it a step further. I want these raids to be the way that Game Freak Shiny unlocks Koraidon and Miraidon. Hear me out, I think Dynamax Adventures walked so Tera Raids could run. I think they've single-handedly extended the life cycle of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I know I personally have played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet longer than any previous Pokemon game because I just enjoy doing Tera Raids. I think they're the most iconic part of Scarlet and Violet. So what better way to unshiny lock the iconic Pokemon of Scarlet and Violet, Koraidon and Miraidon? It would be a lot more fun than just dusting off your copy of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, putting in a mystery gift code, and then just watching it pop into your hands, and then closing the game again. Plus, Game Freak's already done a Pokemon event like this before with the Zeraora event in Pokemon Sword and Shield. In Pokemon Sword and Shield, Game Freak gave Pokemon trainers 11 days for 1 million Pokemon trainers to defeat the Zeraora raids. Once 1 million trainers got the win, every trainer that beat Zeraora received a shiny Zeraora. I toss and turn every night with existential pain because Game Freak has not brought back this style event for Tera Raids. Tera Raids are fun, but they've gotten old for a lot of people. This would be the perfect event to bring people back into Scarlet and Violet and make a really exciting event. This would be a cannot miss event. Imagine how electric it would be. It would be like the Avengers Endgame portal scene, with all the Pokemon trainers coming back to Scarlet and Violet to team up to take down 7-star Koraidon and Miraidon to get legitimate shiny Koraidons and Miraidons. I get fired up just thinking about how fun this event would be. Game Freak, please. One last Pokemon Day thought, I think we'll get one or more Pokemon games remastered and brought to the Switch on the Nintendo Switch online expansion pack. The Pokemon Company is funny because they're one of the few companies in the world that have a button that they could press that would just give them $10 million more. If they just re-release the old Pokemon games from the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy DS onto the Nintendo Switch, they would just print money. They don't even have to do anything to the game, just port them up. Give it like the Super Mario 3D All-Stars treatment. They could do it per region if they want, like, hey, here you go, buy this package, you get Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and I would buy it for the Switch. I'm one of the lucky people. I have these games, not to flex on you, I do have 2 Rubies, and yeah, Matt and Pat, it is legit. But most people, especially the younger Pokemon fans, they've never really got to experience the Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, because on the aftermarket, it's too expensive. Some of them may have experienced it on emulator, but it's not the same as playing it physically handheld. I loved that Pokemon put the first 2 generations of Pokemon games on the 3DS eShop. I don't see why they wouldn't want to do that for Gen 3, 4, and 5, because they don't get any of the money in the aftermarket. They would just print money releasing existing IP. In addition to that, I would like to see a remaster of something like Pokemon Coliseum, and who knows, maybe we'll get like a Mystery Dungeon sequel or something. Those are all the events that I think will get announced for the main series of Pokemon games. I don't know enough about the other mobile games to really make accurate predictions. All I know is that we're gonna get about like 75% of the direct just being, here are different mythical Pokemon that you can serve soup to in Cafe Remix and other nonsense. Side note, talking about the Pokemon mobile games, why are all the trainers in Pokemon Masters like voice acted and have like really cool outfits and stuff? Why can't we have that in the main series games? But that's a topic for another video. Let's talk about the new games that I think are headed our way. I forgot to mention this, but I will be live streaming my reaction on Pokemon Day on February 27th. Make sure you join in the stream as we can experience the hype together. Now back to the video. When I started writing the script for this video, it was my expectations and predictions for Pokemon Day, but I do realize it has almost turned into my personal wish list for Pokemon Day, and not all of this is going to come true, but I love this franchise, I love Pokemon, I just want it to be great. I see the potential, and I see what it could be, so I want it to just be as good as it can be. Before we get into the 2 new games that I think that are coming, I want to just say that my ideal best case scenario is that we get a 3rd Scarlet and Violet DLC, and Game Freak and Pokemon just take their time with the next games, and especially for Gen 10. Right now we're in a cycle where we are getting a new Pokemon game every 3 years. For Gen 10, I would love if they just extended it for an extra year, and that way give us Gen 10 in 2026 versus 2025. Once again, I think Scarlet and Violet had a ton of really great ideas, and I would have loved to see what the game could have been like if the development team had more time to really flesh out the world and those ideas. The Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC was really story-driven and had some really charming characters. I think Kieran is the best, most compelling character we've had in Pokemon in a while. For a 3rd DLC, I would like the focus to be on some sort of battle facility, whether that be a really intricate battle tower, or like a battle frontier like Pokemon Emerald had, or a Pokemon World Tournament like Pokemon Black and White 2 had. Competitive Pokemon has never been more accessible, shiny hunting with friends is really fun in Union Circles, and I love Tera Raids, but there is a battle tower sized hole in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you don't have available friends to battle or you're not in the DanSquared Discord, your choice for battles include ranked battles, which are really tough if you're not an expert, and casual battles, which are just littered with hacked legendaries. I miss the battle tower that we had in previous games, and if you want to go even crazy and above that, give us a whole battle frontier. That'll hold us over for a year while the Game Freak can just sit back and really make sure that the next games that come out are really clean and polished. I do think there's a slight chance that Pokemon actually slows down its timeline, because of the following quote from the COO of Pokemon, whose name I am likely butchering, Takatsu Utsunomiya. Oh, sorry. They made the following statement in an interview in August 2023. I think in general, if you look at the path we've taken up until now has been this constant release, always regularly releasing products on a fairly fixed kind of cadence, you might say. Always having these products able to be introduced and new experience for our customers. And that's how we've operated up until now. I think we're still operating in that way, but there's more and more conversations as the development environments change about how we can continue to do this, while making sure that we are ensuring really quality products are also being introduced. My big takeaway is at least they're acknowledging, hey, we might need to change things to make sure that things are up to quality. I am indeed grasping at straws, but I'm an overall positive person, so I hope that positive change is on the way for Pokemon. I honestly think that it's headed in a good direction. All that being said, let's get back to Pokemon Day 2021. There we saw Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl get introduced to the world. I think Pokemon Day 2024 is going to look very, very similar to that. I think we get 2 games announced. One of these, I believe, is going to be set in the Unova region, after everything in the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC, and the Blueberry Academy being in Unova. It feels like a game set in Unova is inevitable. The second game, I think, is going to be Pokemon Legends Celebi, and I think the starters are going to be Torchic, Piplup, and Snivy. I think Game Freak has been leaving us breadcrumbs as far back as August 13th, 2023 that this is going to be the case. That's when they released this trailer for the Indigo Disc DLC. The trailer opens with all the starter Pokemon returning to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But let's rewind and look exactly at what Pokemon are shown. Here we see Oshawott and Piplup, Cyndaquil and Torchic, Rowlet and Snivy. Oshawott, Cyndaquil, and Rowlet are of course the 3 starters from Pokemon Legends Arceus. This leads me to believe that Piplup, Torchic, and Snivy are going to be the next 3 starters for the next Legends game. Why else would Pokemon show us these 3 starters specifically? They could have shown all the starters in any combination, but they purposely chose to show the 3 Legends Arceus starters in a row with Piplup, Torchic, and Snivy. Let me break the 4th wall and say, yes, I see you rolling your eyes. This is a huge reach, you are correct. I thought the same thing until the latest Tera Raids leading up to Pokemon Day, where Blaziken, Empoleon, and I think Serperior is coming on Sunday, February 18th. Why else would Game Freaks feature these 3 Pokemon specifically leading up to Pokemon Day? I think they are subtly trying to tell us something. Or maybe they're just featuring some of the starter Pokemon that the Elite Four in the Blueberry Academy uses, and it's not that deep. But speculating that it is that deep is really fun, so I'm gonna keep doing it. If you want to stretch it even farther, you could say that the Tera types of these 7-star Tera Raids could be their new regional typing. Blaziken would end up being fire and flying, Empoleon would be water and ice, which I mean penguin, yeah, and Snivy would be grass and whatever, maybe fighting, maybe dragon, we'll see. I'm recording this on Saturday, February 17th. I meant to do it sooner, but life happens. If on February 18th good goes by and there's no Serperior raids, you can come back to this part and laugh at me and say, haha, you are wrong. But why Legends Celebi? Why the Johto region because of those starters? Well, the starters would be Torchic, Piplup, and Snivy. So that rules out Gens 3, 4, and 5, which are Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova for hosting the next Legends game, based on Pokemon Legends Arceus being set in the Sinnoh region and featuring starters from other regions. I think it would be too soon for a Legends game set in Alola, Galar, and Paldea, so I think that leaves the possible options being Kanto, Johto, or Kalos. Unless, of course, they decide to just use Snivy as a starter in its own region, then Legends Kyurem would rock. Or maybe we get Chikorita instead of Snivy. Legends Kyurem with the original dragon would be really cool. Let's just put a pin in that and we'll talk about that another time. Legends Kalos could be interesting because, I mean, Spain and France are next to each other. Kalos is France, Paldea is Spain. There's a giant crater in the middle of Paldea. And I mean, I guess there's stuff in the game apparently that says that the crater is not from that giant weapon that fired off, but like, I mean, it makes sense to me. If a giant laser made a giant crater and there's all sorts of weird energy down there, I mean, laser, crater, weird crystals, it adds up to me. I mean, I'd like to see it. I'm leaning toward Legends Celebi set in the Johto region in the past. I think there is a lot of lore in the Johto region that we could explore. I'd like to see the burned tower burned down. Then there's Celebi and all of its time travel shenanigans. Maybe we could see something similar to Pokemon Forever, one of my favorite Pokemon movies involving some time travel. And then we got Ho-Oh and Lugia, who are just generally cool Pokemon. Keep in mind, we did get past Paradox forms of Suicune, Raikou, and Entei. Maybe that's not a coincidence. But we also did get Future Paradox, Terrakion, Cobalion, and Virizion. Does that hint maybe we're getting a Unova game set in the future? Or at very least a sequel instead of a direct remake? I hope so. If you like Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I hope you continue to like it. I don't want to yuck your yum, that game made me sad. I hope based on the reaction of the fans and the paltry sales, that Pokemon decides, maybe let's not do a direct one-to-one remake. Let's go back to the ways of Fire Red, Leaf Green, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. They were more like successors. They breathed new life into the region. I want something like that for Unova, a region that many people now hold really dear. I know I do, especially because I'm from New Jersey, and part of the Unova region is based on parts of New Jersey, like the area where you start off in Black and White 2, such as Asparagus City. As for release dates, I'm a lot less confident about when these things are going to happen. I hope they are far apart because I hope that Scarlet and Violet gets a third DLC and we expand that life cycle. That way there's plenty of time to flesh out a Legends Celebi or a Black and White 3 before Gen 10. I would like to see the formula going forward that every generation we get a mainline game, a Legends game, and some sort of remake, but not a direct remake, as we said, like a successor. That more or less sums up my expectations or hopes and dreams for Pokemon Day this year, but now let's get into some frequently asked questions that I've been receiving on the short form content of all these ideas. What about the videos on the Pokemon X account of Reshiram and Zekrom flying? What about them? Pokemon posted videos and images of all the legendary Pokemon available in the Nico disc. Just 2 days before posting videos of Kyurem and Reshiram flying, they posted a video of Rayquaza flying. Does that mean the Hoenn region is confirmed? No! So why would the videos of Reshiram and Zekrom mean anything? But Sundan, those can't be the starters. Piplup and Torchic are both birds. Yeah, they are both birds, but they're both cool looking and they don't really look that similar, so 2 birds, 1 stone. No one cares, Palworld is better. Palworld rocks. I stream that sometimes and I make content about it. Palworld's financial success is a win-win for us consumers. It's a win in one way because we get to enjoy this really fun game that looks like the developers are going to put a lot of care in developing and maintaining. Another win because maybe it'll give some competition to Pokemon and show Pokemon that, hey, a more mature audience is interested in monster catching games, and see how this game performs. Maybe Pokemon will say, hey, we want to keep these customers playing our games. Let's step our game up. In general, when there is competition in the marketplace, the consumer wins because the companies have to compete to keep costs low for the consumers and the quality high. Right now, with Pokemon having no real competition for a while, they can just kind of do whatever we want because, hey, they're still going to buy it because there's nothing else to buy. That's a really big problem right now with Madden NFL football. There is no other football game to play, and Madden just kind of stinks and there's nothing we can do about it. Madden 08 and Madden 10 did rock though. I'll always have that. Pokemon Legends Arceus stinks. Please no more. These takes were honestly really surprising to me. I found Pokemon Legends Arceus to be the most enjoyable single-player Pokemon experience I've had. And I think it felt really raw because Pokemon didn't want to fully invest in it. They didn't know. It was like a proof of concept. I think now that they saw that, hey, this sold just as well as the remake and people really seem to enjoy it, they can really flesh it out. I think Pokemon Legends Arceus walked so the next Legends game can run. I understand it didn't have any multiplayer, and multiplayer is my favorite part of Pokemon games, but other than that, let me know why you didn't like Pokemon Legends Arceus. I would say give the next Pokemon Legends game a chance. It should be a lot better. I think you are wrong, or I'm watching after February 27th, and I know you're wrong, so I think you're dumb. Yeah, I might be wrong and dumb, but at least I'm having fun doing it. Speculating rocks. Plus, what if I'm right? That would be neat. I think I'm right about some things. I'm still watching this video and I'm really enjoying it. What should I do? Wow, thank you so much. Make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, or Tera blast that subscribe button for more DanSquared. Let me know your thoughts on these theories. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What just sounds ridiculous? Let's speculate our faces off until Pokemon Day happens. Then you can bookmark this timestamp and come back and just laugh at my dumb face for being completely wrong. Or maybe you can come back and be like, wow, he's pretty smart. Who knows? I don't know. But what I do know is that the Danimal Kingdom is a place you can play the games you love with good people, so join our community today. Thanks for watching.